Welcome to Deep Thoughts, a podcast designed to take you on an introspective journey into the mindsets and strategies that fuel personal growth. In every episode, we'll explore the intersection of psychology, spirituality, and real-world tactics, guiding you through powerful methods to elevate your health, wealth, relationships, and overall well-being. From deep dives into transformative habits and mindsets to candid discussions about the challenges we face in today's fast-paced world, Deep Thoughts is here to remind you of the untapped potential that lies within. If you're ready to disconnect from the distractions and connect with the tools and insights needed to create lasting change, this show is your sanctuary for self-discovery and empowerment. Tune in, reflect, and take action towards a more vibrant and fulfilling life.
Hey everyone, and welcome to a deep dive that's going to challenge some of our assumptions about the world. We're talking about the turkey problem. And before you think, wait, is this a Thanksgiving special? Trust me, it's much deeper than that.
It really is. It's a fascinating look at risk, decision-making, and even personal growth, all wrapped up in this kind of quirky little story.
So set the stage for us. What's this whole turkey problem about?
Okay, picture this. You're a turkey living on a farm. Life is good. You've got sunshine. You've got plenty of space to roam around.
Sounds idyllic.
And every single day, the farmer shows up like clockwork with a big bucket of delicious food.
Not a care in the world.
Right. From the turkey's perspective, this is just how things are. Why would anything ever change? But then Thanksgiving comes along.
Oh no. I think I see where this is going.
Oh, poor turkey.
Exactly. The turkey, never seeing it coming, gets a very rude awakening. And that, in essence, is the turkey problem. We get so comfortable with patterns that we mistake them for guarantees. Okay, I see the analogy, but we're not turkeys on a farm. How does this apply to us humans in the real world?
Think about it. We do the same thing all the time, don't we? That stable job that's been there for years, that long-term relationship that's become more routine than exciting.
You're saying we start to assume these things will always be there.
Exactly. We fall into this trap of thinking, well, this is how it is, this is how it'll always be, and that's when we become vulnerable.
Wow. It's like that feeling of security can actually blind us to potential risks.
Exactly. It's like building a house on a foundation of, well, it's always been this way.
Right.
And while it's great to be optimistic, we don't want to be so optimistic that we ignore warning signs or fail to prepare for, disruptions.
So how do we avoid becoming Thanksgiving dinner? Metaphorically speaking, of course. Are we supposed to walk around constantly worrying about what could go wrong?
No, not at all. It's not about living in fear. It's more about what I call informed optimism. You can still hope for the best, but acknowledge that unexpected things do happen and have a plan for how you'll respond.
Informed optimism. I like that. So what are some practical steps we can take? How do we move away from that blind trust in patterns?
Well, one powerful tool is scenario planning. Imagine different what-if scenarios, right? What if your industry is disrupted? What if a key relationship in your life changes dramatically? Thinking through those possibilities, even if they're uncomfortable, can help you develop the flexibility and resilience to adapt.
So it's like having an escape route plan before the fire breaks out. You don't want to be figuring it out in the heat of the moment.
Yeah.
But isn't there a risk of getting too caught up in all the what-ifs?
It's a balance, for sure. That's where the informed part of optimism comes in. You want to be prepared, not paralyzed. So it's not about obsessing over every possible risk, but identifying the most impactful ones and thinking, okay, if this happened, what would I do?
That makes sense. So it's about diversifying our skills, building strong networks.
Yes.
And really cultivating a mindset that sees change as an opportunity, not just a threat.
Exactly. Because look, you can't prevent every Thanksgiving from happening in life.
Right.
But you can certainly do a lot to make sure you're not the turkey on the table when it does.
Well said. But I'm curious about something you mentioned earlier. Gratitude. I mean, how does gratitude fit in with a concept that highlights all these potential risks and disruptions? It seems a bit counterintuitive.
Yeah, it might seem that way at first glance. But think about it. The turkey story highlights the fact that nothing is truly permanent, right? And while that can be a little unsettling, it can also be a powerful motivator for gratitude.
Well, I see what you mean. If we just assume things will always stay the same, we take them for granted. But knowing that change is, well, inevitable makes us appreciate what we have, right now while we still have it.
Exactly. It's about finding that balance between acknowledging potential risks, but also really savoring the present moment. Gratitude isn't about ignoring the need for preparation. It's about enriching how we experience the journey, even amidst uncertainty.
So it's like instead of just worrying about what we might lose, we're also celebrating what we have in this moment.
Precisely. And this leads to a really interesting question. Can gratitude and preparedness actually coexist? And I think they not only can, but they should. Think of a ship captain, for example. They might deeply appreciate the beauty of the ocean, but they're also meticulous about maintaining their ship and planning their course to navigate potential storms, right? It's a beautiful blend of appreciation and awareness.
That's a fantastic analogy. That image of the captain, grateful but prepared, really resonates. Now, you also mentioned that this whole turkey problem has implications for our relationships. Can you expand on that a bit?
Sure, just like that turkey who takes the farmer's daily feeding for granted, we sometimes do the same thing with the people in our lives. We assume they'll always be there, fulfilling these certain roles, that the dynamics will never change.
Yeah, it's easy to fall into that trap, especially in long-term relationships where you've established these routines and become, well, comfortable.
Right. And then life throws a curveball, just like Thanksgiving for the turkey. People change, circumstances change, and if we're not actively nurturing those connections and being willing to adapt, we might end up facing our own relational Thanksgiving moments.
Ooh, that's a powerful and a bit unsettling image. Nobody wants to wake up one day and realize they've been taking their loved ones for granted. So what's the antidote? How do we avoid those kinds of situations?
Communication is key, right? It's about checking in, expressing appreciation, and having those tough conversations about changing needs and expectations. And just like preparing for those risks in our own lives, it's about being proactive in our relationships, not reactive.
So it's not enough to just hope our relationships stay strong. We need to invest in them and be willing to adapt as we grow and change.
Absolutely. And I think this actually loops back to the idea of antifragility. Just like resilient individuals, strong relationships can weather storms, adapt to change, even become stronger because of those challenges. But it takes work, awareness, and a willingness to be a little uncomfortable, a little vulnerable at times.
So maybe instead of fearing those potential disruptions in our relationships, we can see them as opportunities to deepen our connection, to build something even stronger. Kind of like the saying, smooth seas never made a skilled sailor.
Exactly. And on that note, I think it's time we shifted gears a bit and explore how the turkey problem can challenge our very definition of success.
Okay, now you've really got me intrigued. We've gone from risk to gratitude to relationships. What in the world can a turkey on a farm teach us about success?
It's surprisingly relevant. Think back to that turkey. If it had, a concept of success, it would have been based on that predictable life. Regular food, comfy routine, no worries.
Right, total security.
Exactly. But as we've seen, that kind of success is fragile, easily shattered.
It's like basing your career on the hot skills right now without thinking about what happens if those skills become, obsolete in a few years.
Exactly. Or putting all your eggs in one basket with an investment that seems like a sure thing. If we define success by those predictable patterns, well, we're setting ourselves up for a big fall when those patterns change. And they always do, eventually.
Okay, that's a sobering thought. So if we can't rely on those traditional markers of success, how should we define it, especially in a world that's so unpredictable?
I think true success is all about adaptability, being able to pivot, to adjust, to even thrive when things get messy. Because you can't avoid disruptions altogether, right?
So instead of trying to create this perfect smooth path, it's more about becoming a skilled driver who can navigate the bumps, maybe even use them to our advantage.
Exactly. It's about developing that inner compass that keeps you grounded in your values, your goals, your purpose, even when the world around you is in chaos. And those Thanksgiving moments, those disruptions, they become opportunities to reevaluate, to reinvent yourself, and come out stronger on the other side.
This has been such a fascinating deep dive. It's like you've given us a whole new way of thinking about risk, relationships, even success itself. So any final words of wisdom as we wrap up?
Remember, the turkey problem reminds us that growth isn't about avoiding risk altogether. It's about understanding it, preparing for it, and using it to our advantage. Change is inevitable, but it's also an opportunity to learn, adapt, and evolve.
Well said. And on that note, we'll leave you with this. If you could go back and whisper some advice to that turkey, knowing what you know now about the turkey problem, what would it be? Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
Thank you for tuning in to this episode of the Deep Thoughts Podcast. I hope you found insights and inspiration to take with you on your journey of self-growth. If you enjoyed the show, be sure to hit the subscribe button so you never miss an episode. And don't forget to follow us on social media to stay updated on new releases and exclusive content. See you next time, where we'll continue to help you grow and explore your full potential.